Greetings. This is legitimate political discourse. Every day's a new low. This is week 9 of the Trump cabal. It's not an administration, it's a cabal. So what do you got?
Well, there's the continuing adventures of the administration's attempt to make the courts illegitimate, which, by the way, is really odd because I thought the whole reason they had they were pushing judges through was so they could take control of the judicial branch, and now they can't even find judges to side with them.
Well, yeah, they didn't push enough crooked judges through.
Apparently, there just weren't enough.
Well, and that was the lesson that Trump learned in his first term was that, some people are just too honest, and they're not loyal enough. Mike Pence.
Yeah. Well, what especially gets me is there was a clip, it was on one of the Sunday shows, I don't remember which one if I'm not mistaken, where J.D. Vance says, the president's under no obligation to obey illegitimate court rulings. Now, that statement is a little bit correct, kind of, when looked at it right. But the problem is, the president has no basis to determine what rulings are legitimate or not. Because that's an obvious conflict of interest.
Well, it's just the Goebbels book of fucking propaganda, man. It's the same old Nazi bullshit since 1933. Woohoo!
Well, I mean, if you want to be more blunt about it, sure. However...
Yeah, I like being blunt about it.
The question is, will the administration just start openly violating court orders? And they've already started to go in that direction.
Oh, they have no regard for court orders whatsoever. I mean, they sent 2 planes to El Salvador because the judge's oral order didn't matter until he gave a written order. And then 40 minutes after the written order, they sent the 3rd plane. And then now they filed papers in the House to impeach that judge.
There was, I forget the guy's name, but he was a head in the FDR administration. He famously said, "We are looking for any means within the law to do what we want, and we have a lawyer who will declare everything we want to be legal." And that is fundamentally what their playbook is at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Except they're not even really trying to appeal to lawyers. I mean, is Vance a lawyer?
Yeah, he's got a law degree from Yale.
But remember...
He's an Ivy League lawyer.
Yeah, but remember...
So he knows better. It's just bullshit fascism. Fucking...
But remember...
He knows better.
But remember, he's
not stupid, he's evil.
I am not good at telling when he finishes sentences, apparently. But remember, he very much cares about the downtrodden in Ohio and hates the Ivy League elites.
Yeah.
He also hates the childless cat ladies who run our country. That's why he joined the Catholic Church, which forbids its higher-ups from having children. It almost makes too much sense.
Oh. Well, they're not allowed to have children because they can't keep their fucking hands off of them.
Okay, that's not the actual reason as to why.
Well, it's the reason my kids don't go to church.
The actual reason they don't allow it is because they believe Jesus didn't have children. So people who live a life like Jesus shouldn't. Which, by the way, is actually somewhat contested among scholars, just so everyone knows. But that's a different topic entirely.
Well, wait a second. Now you brought up Jesus. And usually I shy away from Jesus. But, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
But I do try to live by a Bible verse. John 15:12 that says, "Love everyone as Jesus loves you.
Yeah, because that's supposed to be... Now,
Because that's the ultimate love. That's without judgment, conditions, or limits. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, you still believe Jesus loves you. So that's how you love everyone else. Now, I'm not Jesus by a long shot, but it's what I try to do.
well,
It's what I want to do.
Well, fundamentally, that's actually one of the reasons why Christianity began spreading in the first place, because it was viewed as the religion of the downtrodden, of the people who had done immoral things but wanted to do better, as opposed to a lot of other pagan beliefs at the time. Pagan just being an umbrella term ascribed to these beliefs, by the way, not something they would refer to themselves as. Which were much more might makes right, which were much more, if you've done something immoral, you were just permanently an immoral person. Now, but back to the talk about the courts. It's just so obvious this administration doesn't care about the law.
No, it's corrupt-a-palooza, dude.
Yeah.
The tour played the halls of the fucking Department of Justice last week. And Trump sang all the old hits, man. It's...
The corrupt Department of Justice.
Laws are for liberals. And...
Did you hear they're now trying to say that Biden's pardons were invalid because he signed them through AutoPen?
Oh, Biden's pardons are valid. He's the head of a crime family. Trump revoked Hunter Biden and Ashley Biden's Secret Service yesterday.
Which
is really just fucking bullhorn to MAGA to go fuck with Hunter Biden.
Well, and by the way, this administration also is just making up legal precedents too, and that's quite possibly the most frustrating part, but that's always been the game. William Barr's unitary executive theory was equally as made up as the legal theories Trump and his buddies are using now. The only difference is about 30 years. Or I guess it'd be about 30 years. Because the whole unitary executive idea started in the Reagan administration. Basically as an excuse to do whatever they wanted without having to consult Congress. The idea being the Constitution gave the president unitary executive powers. And that's just not how the Constitution works. But they didn't care. They needed a legal theory to back up their ideas. It's like how they knew the only way they were going to win elections if they got media to push their propaganda. Roger Ailes literally wrote a memo to Richard Nixon in 1971 pitching GOP TV. And Roger Ailes was one of the people behind getting Rush Limbaugh on every radio station and starting Fox News.
Yep.
They make things up and change the game because they know that if they continued playing the game, they'd lose.
You don't have to lie when the truth's on your side.
Exactly.
Can't stress that enough.
But Chuck Schumer's going to fight against them once the approval rating gets a little lower, so don't worry. Then everything will be safe.
As soon as it gets under 40, as soon as enough people pay attention to get his approval rating. Don't buy eggs. Eggs are contaminated. We'll be back in 11 seconds. Okay, so price of eggs is going down, but it's only because they deregulated the bird flu restrictions, so they don't have to kill the chickens, so they can lay contaminated eggs and move them on through. So don't buy eggs, or I wouldn't. I don't care if they're free. I'm done. What do you got?
Well, I was going to continue talking about how how Chuck Schumer is going to fight back against Trump. Now, you may have all thought that he capitulated.
What's he going to do, clench?
may have all thought he capitulated when he basically let the entire federal government be signed over to Trump and Elon Musk. However, he promises he will fight against them when Trump's approval rating hits 40%.
Yep. That's when he'll quit using lube, and it'll be tougher.
Well, here's what I want to know. Why that number specifically?
He said that was when Republicans in the Congress started negotiating with them in the first term. Well, they played this shit the first time where, hey, we got control. We're the fucking bullies. Fuck you. And they passed their tax cut, and then Paul Ryan got rich enough that he retired from being Speaker of the House.
But Trump's approval ratings were already way lower in his first term in the first place. You remember when he was first elected, his approval ratings were lower than Bush after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, well, approval ratings don't mean shit now, man.
Well, yeah, obviously.
It was all about votes, and we lost. And I told you guys it's going to be permanent this time. You didn't listen. FAFO, baby.
And by the way, what even is that logic? We'll fight back when the Republicans let us. Like, is he... Why do we need their permission? Did they ask for our permission when they railroaded Biden for 4 years? Or railroaded Obama for 8 years?
Well, it's the grand moral dilemma. Democrats want to do things the right way and stay within the law and win on election day. And Republicans will just show up at the Capitol and fucking beat down cops and threaten to fucking hang you if they don't get their fucking way. So, how do you fight fair? How do you fight fair when the other side don't fight fair?
You know, Jon Stewart's been doing the best talk about this.
How long do you do it over and over until it's officially insanity?
Well, I was going to say, Jon Stewart's been doing the best talks about this, because he was talking about this from day one, and there were a bunch of people who said he was both-siding things, which isn't what that term means. Both-siding means you're saying both sides are equally bad. Stewart's main criticism of the Democrats was that they weren't fighting against Trump effectively enough. That sounds like he's calling one several times worse. Like, just intuitively, if you're saying the biggest problem with one side is they aren't good enough at being their side, that's a different criticism from, I dislike the other side. But that didn't matter, so a bunch of people tuned him out, even though his commentary was always on point. And even just after Trump was elected, remember he did that bit about how, Democrats feel they need to thread the needle. Republicans just try to finger bang a donut, I think is what he said.
Yep. Oh.
It's incredibly frustrating. And then there was that clip of Hakeem Jeffries, who, by the way, I don't even think has been a bad minority leader, saying he was going to pick and choose which fights. And I think I said it on this show already, but how many people are in the DNC again? Couple million?
Yeah.
You really can't find somebody for every single fight? You really can't even if you can't, just find, one guy and be like, hey, sorry, hypothetical person who's being talked to right now, I'm gonna have to give you 2 fights instead of just 1.
Bring it.
It was such a ridiculous statement. Because it's not as if... People have talked about how Trump is doing all of these things at once. It's not as if he is doing an unlimited, infinite amount of things. It is not as if he is not constrained by the laws of space and time.
Well, he's not constrained by the laws of government.
That is
There is no accountability for all this law-breaking shit. It's not right. It's not legal. And it's Nazism.
Well,
It's straight up fucking fascism. And I ain't gonna fucking take it.
well, what I'm angry
Burn
about.
my bra. Sorry, that's a little bit before your time. But
No, I get what that's referencing. Don't worry.
I'm mad as hell.
That was Network, right?
I honestly don't remember. I just remember it was from the 70s.
I'm near certain that was Network.
I wasn't old enough to see it then. That's what it was. Not that I didn't see all kinds of shit
But
that I wasn't supposed to see.
the point I was making is one of the biggest signs that this is I take issue with the enabling of this, primarily because it is just defeatism. Again, it's not as if, like, we can talk about all of the different laws and procedures Donald Trump hasn't followed. At the end of the day, there are still 24 hours in a day. And there's still a limited amount of time for him to do things.
Yeah, but there's also, it's a divide and conquer strategy. If we all separate and take our own fucking tasks, then there's nothing united to hit him like a fucking wall.
Well, I understand that on some level, but on another, then you should be combining issues into some sort of centralized framing.
Well, yeah, fuck Trump.
That's a good framing right there.
Fuck Elon.
That, you see right there, make him a strategist.
There you go.
That's at least a framing. You know, it just baffles me how people are talking about how, oh, well, once he gets below a certain approval rating, then we'll fight him. Really?
Yeah.
So once things get...
Just don't forget that half the world's lube supply is locked up in evidence for the Diddy trial.
That is true. I don't know if that's true or not. Actually, I'm going to end...
Fact check me.
I'm going to end with this. Okay? Because last night, something else happened in the hip-hop world. The response to the Drake lawsuit from Kendrick Lamar's lawyers happened. And it was very funny and very entertaining, and everyone should read it. And then think about how none of those people are in politics, even though they probably should be. Because that's the problem. The problem is people who know how to fight can't do politics. Why are the best journalists fucking people who talk about video games on YouTube right now? Why is Carl Josps, a guy who
yeah, that's the thing. Is, in my day, you know, I'm watching Meet the Press or whatever, and Kristen Welker, she'll hear a lie, and she'll say, well, but... and tell the truth a little bit, and then ask them another question. And in my day, the journalist was supposed to keep asking them questions and make them tell the fucking truth.
Why is a guy who talks about video game speedrunning in New Zealand, Carl Jobst, a better journalist than basically anyone on CNN right now? When we can answer that question... that's when we figure out how to fix the country.
Well, because CNN's got an agenda.
Well,
they're not independent journalists.
Well, CNN, well, that was just a stand-in for political journalism in general. You know what I mean.
Okay, I didn't, but now I do.
Anyway, we're on...